Welcome to The Real Bottom Line. Yeah, I'm not Wendy, but Wendy is here because today we're going to do something completely different. This is the last episode of the year, and we decided that Wendy's not running the show today. I get to interview her, and we also dragged along Kelsey to the show because if you're going to be talking about business value and exits, you might as well have a CEPA, Certified Exit Planning Advisor, here at the party. Welcome both of you to your own show, but you're not in control.
Well, thanks for having us, Sean, to our own show.
It's wonderful.
So we're going to be diving through a bunch of questions throughout today's episode. We're going to be talking about value, business, exit, things that you guys have learned over the last year, come up against, and looking forward to 2026. So let's jump right into reflecting on the year that we just had. When you look back to this past year, what surprised you most about the business owners that you work with? I'm going to start with you, Wendy, if you want to go first.
I think that there's an optimism despite all the media and all the geopolitical things that are on the go. But a lot of people have optimism around where they can go and how they can pivot if necessary. What I also enjoyed working with business owners is what I call peeling the onion back, so that we can figure out exactly like how their business funds their life and what does the business need to do, so that they have all the data points that they need. But it's really is about peeling an onion. We look at one thing, then we look at another thing, and from that, I love where they become very confident and that they start thinking of business differently.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, both of you saw that same year from two different angles. So, Kelsey, I'm going to ask you this one. What stood out to you as a shared moment, where you both saw this as a turning point, if there was one?
I saw it slightly different because I saw a bunch of people were a little bit more tired as well with their business. So, the tiredness causes some people to fall out of love with their business. So seeing that, but that's where we've come in and help over the time, and it's been really good for them to fall in love with their business once again.
Mm-hmm.
If I
Absolutely.
could chime in on that
Now,
too, one of the
yeah,
things that
go
I
ahead.
found as a turning point was having the capacity that and the expertise that Kelsey has developed and brought to the table. That I've had a number of clients that we can go, oh, you need to talk to Kelsey about that, so that we have become much more full service as a firm.
Absolutely. Now, Kelsey, you got the certification this year in 2025, correct?
Correct.
Now, bringing that into Black Star Wealth, what has that allowed you to do? Like, what has it changed once you were able to look at businesses through the lens of that training?
It's just it's the formalization of more of the processes, more of the things inside the business. And we've been guilty of some of these things ourselves. I've been working on a policy and procedure manual for 15 years, and we finally feel that we're at a good point with it right now. We'll have someone test it next month to see how good it is. But I just think it's really getting the information out of keep people's head and getting it written down and making sure that there's cross training. It's those kind of things that I think are super important.
Mm-hmm. Now, Wendy, Kelsey's been involved in the business, for many, many years in different capacities. What has this change done for your view of the business, allowing him to bring that valuation side and that exit planning perspective?
I think it's allowed Kelsey to actually step into his power and his unique abilities, and also allows other people to get the benefit of his vision, right? So been lucky enough to have that along the way, but now other clients get to interact with Kelsey and get his perspective, which is really valuable when you think of all the stuff he's seen us go through in terms of selling business, selling assets, and things like that, and bringing those lessons to our clients. I think has been phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Kelsey, anything to add to that?
Well, that's perfect. I like getting my tires pumped up. That was nice.
Well, Kelsey is a connector by nature. And so this also allows him to do more connecting, which is fabulous.
Mm-hmm. Now we are well aware of the financial stresses that we live in every single day, and they seem to be getting harder and harder from a personal and a business side here in this country. And the financial mindset of business owners right now, I want to ask both of you, if you could capture that financial mindset this year in one word, what would that be, and why would you use that word?
I'm going to use the word resilient, which may be a little overused, but I think that once we got used to it, I think over the last 5 years, if we think about it, we've had new normals almost every year. New normals, new normals. And so maybe we've developed a few ways of actually almost being able to adjust and change and pivot and do with that. And a way of actually, hey, something's going to change this year. What do we have to do to be ready? I think that's
Hmm.
the word, is that that has to be built in to the things.
Great. Kelsey.
Action was my word, which this is why it works with Wendy and I. Because without, you have to be resilient, but you also have to take action. You've actually got to do something instead of staring at the wall saying, woe is me.
Mm.
Hmm.
So, and I guess that's a little bit more of my attitude. I'm a little bit more blunt and forward with things. So, as you see behind me, my sign says, "Are you interested or committed?" I want to work with committed people. So, and those people take action. Hey, it could be the wrong action, but at least we're doing something as long as it's measured,
Hmm.
and then we can go back and look at what the overall effects
Mm.
were of that.
Great perspective. Now, if you're thinking about selling your business, preparing it for sale, right? For the owners thinking this about selling in the next 3 or 5 years or anywhere in between, what should they be paying attention to right now? When do you go first?
Was that me first? Did you say, Sean? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
From a financial planning perspective, we want to be looking at is how do we maximize the cash in your jeans at the end of that transaction, right? And what that means is that we have to take a really good look at the entire situation and decide what structures, what do we have to do? Are we adding a family trust? Are we adding a holdco? What are we doing to help minimize the taxes? This is not tax avoidance. This is about being smart and calculated around what you put in place. Story about that is we were talking to a good accountant friend of ours. I think it was 3 or 4 years into the pandemic, talking about business sales. And he says the number of people, to Kelsey's point about being tired, come in and they said, if you just wait a couple of years and do some work, you could um, you could save thousands, millions of dollars of taxes. And they're like, nope, tired, tapping out. So we got to do this. This is the thing. While you still have the energy and while you have that vision, getting things put in place sooner than later.
Hmm. Preparing now is the
Yes.
best
Well, let's
solution
put
to
it this
this.
way. If you look at the whole timeline, we've got to get the stuff that Kelsey does to help get the business shiny, happy, ready to go. My stuff, getting you financially prepared. Well, then you have to find a buyer, and then you may have to work for a few years to help transition that sale. So it's not, hey, I'm going to wake up and sell it this month.
Hmm. Absolutely. So, Kelsey, if somebody comes to you and says, I'm interested, I'm committed, I want to get higher business value, what's the most common misconception you're seeing out there?
They don't really understand what the business is worth, how it's valued. And this is not their fault. We're not taught in school. This is not, I mean, these are all things. And if they don't have a really good network and a really specialists around them to help answer them, they really don't have a clue. They sometimes look, to Wendy's point of what's the capital gain? What's my top capital gain? Yeah, that's what my business is worth. It's like you do $30,000 a year in sales. Like it's not worth $2 million. So it's just getting some people into the reality of what it is, and that's why it takes time to get everything pretty. Because people, like I say, people want to buy a cash flow; they don't want to buy a job.
Hmm.
So everything that Wendy was just talking about, getting everything ready financially, because the next part of that is, you know, what are you going to do afterwards? Great, you've sold it. Less than 30% of businesses go to market to sell. So when you start thinking about that, but it's like, great, you've come in here and opened and closed the lights, the doors, everything for 35 years.
Hmm.
You're the big person in the community because you've donated a bunch of money, you've done all this kind of stuff. That was Friday. You sold Monday. You're at home. No, your phone's not ringing because you can't write the big check anymore. What's going on? What are you going to do? So there's that side because that takes some time too to figure out. Is like if you don't have hobbies because all you've done is work, you need to have things to do. So
Yeah. And
it's
to tie into that, it's how much of your identity is tied up in the business. Like to Kelsey's point, you were the man or the woman for how long, and now you're just an ordinary person all of a sudden. That can be quite a shock. So one of the things we ask people to consider is, are you a business owner or do you own a business? And that small little change from you own a business, because then it's just an asset you have versus I'm a business owner shift that we have to try and help get people to.
Hmm. Yeah, and never thought of the life after sale, right?
I
And the
mean, the
things
first
that
90
you would
days
do.
are easy, Sean, because you're burned
Hmm.
out. You've been running
Hmm.
two full-time jobs while you're going through the sale. And then, so you have your, 90-day cruise somewhere, and then all of a sudden it's now what?
Right. And
yeah.
probably find yourself starting another business.
I see a
Okay.
lot of people will,
Sorry, you get 3 years beforehand to think about that and say, hey, I want to.
Hmm.
You plan for that. Hey, I want to take 3 6 months off, and then have everything ready. Perfect, no
and
stress.
I think
Hmm.
too that there's this fallacy that you're just going to do it once. Yes, if you're just doing it once, that's great. But if you're someone who loves setting stuff up, getting it going, and then moving on, then you want to make sure you're maximizing what you're getting out of that over that time frame. So it's nothing's wrong.
Hmm.
It's just what's going to be next.
Absolutely. Now, what about those people that currently right now they don't have their time frame as like I know when I'm going to sell, but it might be an option down the road. Are there certain things that they can do just in structuring their business that would better position them for if they decide, hey, I'm going to sell this?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's lots of different drivers to the business. So I mean, it's a lot of stuff that seems like common sense, but client segmentation.
Hmm.
Again, this is all about if you think about the next person coming in that wants to buy cash flow, not a job, is everything listed and documented, ready to go that they can pick up the playbook and keep
Mm.
going.
Hmm.
And it's really understanding when you buy something or do something, what does that affect all the way through? What are the ripples? Like, do you really need that this year, or do you want that? Because that could not buying that new piece of equipment could drive up your valuation because you have more cash in the company or you have more assets or whatever it may be, better cash flow. So, and looking at your when I say client segmentation, who's who, but also on the sales side, if anybody's over 10 or 15% of your total sales, that's a big no
Yeah.
no.
Hmm.
That's seeing people lose 60% of their sales overnight because somebody else sold their business and couldn't tell their supplier that they were selling their business. So they got the phone call and said, hey, somebody else in our province bought it, and all the business that you get is no longer your business.
Mm.
Sorry.
Hmm.
And
And imagine losing 600
And to
overnight.
layer onto that, I think there's this sometimes we get so focused on profit that we, as owners, will say, well, if I do this myself, I don't have to pay someone, so there's more profit. But then you're really shooting yourself in the foot again to that point of buying a job. As an owner, one of the first things you can do is figure out how to not be the bottleneck anymore and build systems and processes that don't need you. And so along the
Hmm.
way, what can happen is, to Kelsey's point again about being tired, build the right systems, and you're going to get to spend more time working on your business, which may give you the juice and the energy to have fun.
Great advice. Now, I'm going to throw this in the ring for both of you to figure out which one you want to take on here. But the myths that need to die. What myths about selling a business or increasing the value do you wish the business owners would just finally let go of that you just keep hearing over and over or see them kind of falling victim to?
you want to go
No, you
first,
go
Wendy?
for it.
Or I think it's just something I just said not too long ago too. It's that only 25 or 30% of businesses sell. Then I saw another stat that it's like a high 90% don't get what they thought they were going to get
Mm-hmm.
um, at the final deal because of clawbacks or whatever it happens to be. Um, so it's that myth that I'm going to work 10, 20, 30 years or whatever, and then I'm just going to call and this is going to be wrapped up in a month or two.
Well,
It's not the way it works. It's the time frame, 12, 18 months. Yes, you could get a 3 month or a 6 month, but you're really looking at a year and a half to go through the due diligence, to go through everything. Like it's a process. So that's where I think that people think that I'm only going to call you when I'm ready to sell. You should be calling 5, 10 years before that, just so you understand what drives the value. So you're making strategic decisions all along the way that drive the value. To Wendy's point, not just revenue, because revenue is really helpful. Don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of things you could be doing with less. You could sell a company with less revenue
Mm-hmm.
that has a lot of more things all set up underneath it. So that's where I think that's the myth that really people think I only call someone when I want to sell. Because Wendy also mentioned earlier the accountant. I remember the call. It was 2/3 of all the people come in just to sell their businesses. It was shortly after COVID, so within the first year and a half, and they were just like, "No, we just want to sell. We don't care that we're leaving 25% on the table. We just want to."
tapping out.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's not good because those people worked all their lives probably, and entrepreneurs, roughly 80% of their wealth is tied up in their
Hmm.
business.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're leaving 25% of that, it's like that's a lot of money sitting
I think
there.
another myth, Sean, is that we have complete control over when that business transition might happen. 50% of business transitions are involuntary. They could be due to death,
Mm-hmm.
they could be due to divorce, they could be due to disagreement, they could be to disability. There's a 50. Kelsey, what's the fifth one? Do you remember?
I was just saying because I
Yeah,
haven't been,
but so if we know that that's true, and we do the work to maximize the value so that the value is maximized all along the way, you're less likely to have potentially a fire sale. And this happens all the time, where people go into the sales process and then someone passes away. And so it becomes harder to extract the full value from that business unless you've done the work.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, this is the last episode of 2025. It's probably lessons that you learned throughout the year. Wendy, I'm going to start with you on this one. What did you learn this year that changed how you advised business owners or will advise them going into 2026?
I think what I changed the most was I was talking to some clients and we were talking about client acquisition costs. And I'm like, oh, I should probably go look at my chart of accounts and see if I can figure out mine. And what I realized is that my chart of accounts, which is that document inside my accounting software that shows where all my expenses and my income came in, didn't actually have a breakdown that allowed me to figure it out. So if we think about it, I use different technology for marketing, different technology for sales, different technology for client fulfillment, all that type of stuff. And yet it's one line, technology or subscriptions. How do I break that out unless I'm going to do a ton of work? So we revamped our chart of accounts this year so that we have broken out marketing, sales, fulfillment, overhead, so that we can actually see what are we spending on different activities to make sure that we're getting our return on that.
Mm-hmm. Great advice. Kelsey,
To
what
me,
did this year teach you?
for me, it's just really helping the business owners not be defined by their business, because that's the psychology there is amazing, but that's you get over that hurdle, the rest of the business processes, getting everything planned, doing the valuations, moving stuff forward, working with Wendy, those things are all easy if they can see the light at the end of the tunnel, because they're just sometimes just want out.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes strategic out, but it's also that knowing that, hey, what am I going to do? And am I going to be comfortable? Because that's really scary. So that's really been focused a lot more on that after planning thought with people.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Now, I went through your business value amplifier program, right? So I went through all the different pillars of that. Did you guys take any of your own advice this year, yeah, in your business, or over the years, like to put these systems that you advise people into your own practice, other than the one you just
Yes,
mentioned with
the
the
one
chart
we
of
just
accounts?
mentioned. What else? Let me just think about that. I think getting a bunch of infrastructure projects across the finish line. Kelsey talked about the
Mm-hmm.
policy procedure manual. Like, we're in the red zone now. We are going to get that across the touchdown line and spike the ball and maybe have a celebration. But just really focusing on having that foundation built so that everything's clear, who does what, when, exact, and how it works, so that we can then spend our time more on servicing clients, finding new clients, etc. I think has been really, really valuable in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kelsey,
And I'd
any?
say like very similar. It's getting the manuals that had been 90% done or whatever it is, getting all those little things finished,
Mm-hmm.
um, and tested. But those drive value for the
Yeah.
company. Because again, someone's got a playbook to come in. So, it's ripping those band-aids off because some of them, and we just you hire some contractors if it's not your specialty, get the experts out there. And that's what we did because we had it at the side of our desks for a long time, different things. I mean, now they're complete. So we can walk into 2026 with a smile on our face. Now, these are all living documents, so they'll always have to be updated because there'll be a new technology or something will shift. We know
Mm-hmm.
this. We know the base is so well done. Um, and if someone was to acquire, not that that's a reality or thought at the moment, but if someone was to acquire, our value is higher than someone else with a similar business because we have a lot of these building blocks put in place that you would have
Mm.
learned in the training and working with
I think
us.
another thing that we did this year, Kelsey, was that we hired an executive assistant. She's just part time. Kelsey gets a few hours, I get more hours, but she's managing my email and a few other things. So we've been able to take a few of those tasks that, when you look at the value of your time, have come off our plates, which is good because then we can do more higher value tasks or activities that will drive the value, the revenue, and the profit.
Mm-hmm. Now, for those that don't know, you two are married. Yeah, right. You work together, you live together. What's the biggest win this year? The two of you working together. What would you say that is?
My biggest one, I think, is having Kelsey kind of come out of the background and join me at the front of the company type of thing, so that we definitely get to use his talents better and more. And yeah, I just think seeing the lanes show up that we can both contribute makes a big difference. Kelsey was so great in the background, making sure everything was ready for me to work, but now he can actually do what he's super good at, as opposed to just something he's excellent at, but not necessarily drives his energy levels.
Mm-hmm. And what take us to that moment when you thought, hey, you know what? We need a new plan here. Like, when did you decide to take this shift and get that certification and take that forward step into that working together more aligned?
Kelsey?
It's just working more and more of the work was showing up.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I've done 3 exits of our own, um, involved with a lot of different things and inside and outside. So I have a lot of passion for the business, and seeing businesses grow. I love seeing the operations, how they tick. Like to go on a cruise ship and to be able to go into the engine room and the cafeteria and see how everything all flows. That's exciting to me. It's like, do you want to see the pool? No, I want to see where this stuff is. Because it can translate if it's a corner store or a pulp mill or a consulting agency or whatever it is, there's a lot of similarities. And if we look at different places, and for me, I'm very happy because I get to work with people all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And then, working with my wife, because they come back and say, hey, I have this thought, or what do you think? Because I also have someone with a lot of knowledge that go, hey, did you think about this? I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that. Thank you. So it gives a better solution to the clients, because we have a great vast number of people that can help us. They're only one call away, but it's really nice having someone that's a floor away from you at the office that, hey, when you have a couple minutes, you have 5 minutes between the meeting, you meet in the kitchen, boil the water for tea, discuss something, and then you're able to continue, where that having that expertise in house is really good.
Mm-hmm. Now, your message and what you do with clients is all about helping them build that freedom, right? That freedom in life, using their business for that. How did that evolve for you this year in your own lives?
I would say getting the part-time EA was really good for my freedom. The first time when something is completely dealt with, you're like, oh, I don't have to do that. Okay, good. It's kind of this interesting, really freeing moment to know that someone else can do that work for you is really game changing.
Now, Kelsey, from you, what does it look like going into next year? Like, what are you looking forward to? The freedom of what you're doing is bringing for both of you.
Well, it's not having to do as much as I did inside with Wendy frees up my calendar. So now it's like, hey, what do you want to do?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm lucky that I get choose clients. I don't have to work with everybody and anybody. So that's what I'm really looking forward to, is the few that I'm working with now, and a few others want to come on board. It's phenomenal. Like, that to me is like, I have the space to work at it next year and then have some help and know that I'm backfilled in my other position. And again, that's how we bring value to companies, that it's not reliant on an owner. So, I'm hoping by the end of next year that if Kelsey never existed inside of the Wendy company, it's all good. And then it's just finishing getting Wendy outside of that company. And then, there's the ultimate value. So that's where I'm looking forward, is just building value on that side of the business and helping a lot of people succeed.
I feel like 2025 was a big year in terms of defining how we serve people and becoming becoming way more specific about it and way more clear, so that people know, hey, yeah, we can help you. And there's this whole spectrum of needs that we can assess, especially business owners, because everything that we're doing with them is needed.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Now, my last question before we wrap up here is looking towards 2026. And I had it written as one financial habit, but I'm going to actually just generalize it as, I'm going to ask each of you here, if business owners could develop one habit next year, what do you think that should be, and why are you saying that?
One habit?
One habit.
Go.
I'm just like, kind of be cognizant of your numbers. Like, do a subscription, if you have QuickBooks, whatever, like, just go and do your all your sales, all your products, look at everything, all your subscriptions, look at your charter accounts, look at everything, and just like start slicing and dicing things. Again, drives valuation, helps with cash flow, but there's so much stuff we've donated. I know the first time we did this year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I literally saved 10 grand because there was something at $200 a month that I wasn't using. I was just donating. So that's $2,400 a year. So you're like, oh, poop, that's a lot of money. So it didn't take long. Or you have a couple extra licenses on Microsoft or Adobe, and those could be $35 a pop or $10, and they all add up. So just knowing your numbers Wendy uses a great analogy. It's, uses it as a bus. Like, you're driving the bus means you know your numbers, you know everything. Just get on the bus. You don't have to be next to the driver. You could be at the back of the bus or halfway up the bus. Like, just get on the bus and start knowing it, because these are the things that are going to massively help your company. I said it's like cash flow valuation, and make it better. That's why I find people just have their head in the sand, don't want to look at anything like that. They're like, oh, my bookkeeper or my accountant does that. It's like, if this is your nest egg and it's 80% of your value, of all the money you have, I think you should probably be looking at it a little bit more. Especially, if you're 3 years out from sale, because that's generally what people are looking at when they go to buy your business, the last 3 or 4 years as an example of the financials. So the sooner you can get that all cleaned up, you can show higher numbers on everything. And that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
I have
Wendy.
2 things. One financial habit is to not only set goals for your revenue and your profit, but set a goal for what you want the value of your business to be for the year, and then monitor that. The other thing that I've been doing with some of my business owners that's really been very interesting is that we're monitoring net worth, and every quarter we're going in, updating all the numbers. So for example, one business owner, in less than a year, we increased their net worth by over $700,000. Like, that's significant shift. But if you're not aware and have your eye on, that's what I'm trying to do, here's the asset breakdown I want, how are you knowing how you're progressing unless you're measuring it? And it has to be more
Great
than
advice.
just, what is my RSP? You know what I mean? It has to be all the stuff that has value.
Absolutely. Well, Kelsey, Wendy, I want to thank both of you for allowing me to guest host your podcast for the last one of 2025. One word that wraps up this year and past, what would that be for each of you?
I'm going to say fine-tuning for this year. 2025 was a fine-tune year.
I had
Ooh,
foundational.
nice, yes. Same intent. I love that.
Excellent. And the future of this podcast going into 2026, stay tuned, stay subscribed. This is the first one you're listening to. Subscribe to it. And Wendy will be back, and Kelsey will be back in 2026.